Last time we reported on the state of freedom from religion in communist China. Yes, the Red Dragon is committed to the one true God. Well, according to the communist Chinese, that would be president and dictator for life, Xi Jinping. Why else would they require Chinese Christians with pictures of Jesus to replace them with posters of Xi? After all, Xi wants to be emperor of the world. Why not just ascend to divinic status? After all, the Japanese went down that path with their emperor, and look how that worked out. We already exposed the mistreatment of Christians and Uyghurs, so in this episode we're going to focus on, according to the Red Dragon, the most dangerous group of religious zealots, and therefore the most repressed by the communist regime, those often yellow-clad exercise fanatics, the Falun Dafa, otherwise known as Falun Gong. Why these subversives believe in truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Talk about dangerous and out of control. They even have a flair for color coordination. For those not up on this dangerous sect, let's take a look at the facts. Well, the facts vary based on whose facts they are. For example, according to the Red Dragon, there are only 3 million members. But Falun Gong says that number is actually 100 million. So you can see we are off to a rough start, but let's soldier on. As you can see by the information presented by religionfacts.com, the Falun or wheel is an energy source located in the navel. I think that's the human navel. Goal is spiritual transcendence achieved by practicing Falun Gong. As the symbology reflects, there are other movements in history that have decided to take on these symbols. These are ancient symbols of Falun, the wheel, and yes, that's what became known as a swastika during the Nazi regime, but that symbol has been around for centuries and was only misused most recently by the Nazis. The Falun Gong believe in practices dedicated to exercises to strengthen the Falun. Cultivation of truthfulness, benevolence, forbearance. They have their own texts. They obviously have their own symbols, and they practice the wheel of Dharma. Further information provided by religionstolerance.org would lead you to believe that this may just be a misguided group of Buddhists or Taoists dedicated to healthy minds and bodies. So why is the Red Dragon so freaked out? Well, the secret may be that Falun Gong is an entire way of life. And since decades ago the Red Dragon determined there is only one way of life, the life dedicated to the communist state, its dictates, and the worship of its dictators. So Falun Gong has to go. And what do I mean by go? Well, go to prison, go to the rack, and go to the grave. After all, when the Red Dragon is stymied, it is always ready to drop the kid gloves and use bullets and bayonets. Why should enforcing religious intolerance be any different? And how do you explain this apparent clash between the forces of the benevolent Red Dragon and the obvious dangers of these yoga practitioners? Well, Chris Chappell, with China Uncensored, has all the explanations we need.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold the gravest threat facing China. Falun Gong practitioners. Look at them there, standing still. Or here, sitting still. Can't someone do something about this menace? Yes, good. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, I get the idea. Wow.
Well, do you think that the reluctance of the Western media to report on the atrocities going on in communist China against the members of Falun Gong, do you think it could have anything to do with the ability to continue to report from the belly of the Red Dragon? Maybe.
The Communist Party gets a little touchy about Western media reporting on Falun Gong. Even if the Western journalists want to report on it, that puts media companies in a tight spot. Are these companies going to risk getting kicked out of China? Are they expected to risk losing all that money for a poorly understood spiritual group just because it's the right thing to do?
But just 20 years ago, Falun Gong was actually applauded by the Chinese state as an example of a way to stay healthy. How could things have dramatically changed?
1 out of every 12 people in China practicing Falun Gong.
If you took a walk in the park this morning, you can see that the recent hard work the government has put into public health activities has not been wasted. Every morning starting from 5 to 6 a.m., the city's green grass, parks and public squares become a morning exercise heaven.
From heaven to hell in just one generation. How in the world can such a transition have taken place?
For years, the government was actually promoting Falun Gong because of all the health benefits people were experiencing. But more than that, China researchers tend to point out that Falun Gong filled a spiritual vacuum that had been left in China after the Cultural Revolution. Falun Gong was a traditional Chinese kind of spirituality that appealed to Chinese people. At a time when making money was the only thing considered important and getting rich was glorious.
And look at all the millionaires that were produced during that era. Right, Bill and Hillary?
In 1999, then Chinese leader Jiang Zemin declared the party had to eradicate Falun Gong.
The People's Daily reports that Falun Gong is an evil cult. Falun Dafa is an illegal organization, and the decision is to outlaw it.
So in the spring of 1999, Falun Gong was a recognized part of the Communist Chinese way of life. Just months later, it becomes the root of all evil on the planet. Once again, one of those remarkable transitions.
Since then, Falun Gong practitioners have disappeared, been tortured, raped, and killed in labor camps and prisons, sent to mental institutions, even become the cornerstone of China's organ donation system, as they have their organs ripped out and sold.
You heard right. It seems that China is participating in that now worldwide epidemic of organ harvesting, one of the key features of the deep state, in order to keep the money coming in so they can finance the rest of their nefarious activities.
And in the 15 years this persecution, genocide has been going on, Falun Gong practitioners have never fought back with violence. They have, however, been trying to tell people about all the stuff that's happening to them in China, which really is almost as bad. Why are Falun Gong practitioners always trying to give China a bad name? I mean, they claim they're a peaceful meditation, Qigong practice or whatever, but they're clearly getting political.
And there's where the rubber hits the road. It is all politics, world domination, all part of the scheme the Red Dragon is using in order to press their influence throughout the world and take down the democratic states like the United States of America and replace it with their totalitarian dream.
That Falun Gong is political. No. The way you're supposed to handle it when Chinese authorities do something bad to you is definitely don't question why they're doing that. Just keep your head down and try not to think about it. Definitely don't talk about it, ever. That way, the party can keep all those horrible crimes against humanity behind the scenes. Then they can put on some nice shows like the Olympics opening ceremony or get placed on the UN Human Rights Council, and then everyone in the world thinks China's great.
So I'm sure any rational human being would conclude that the Red Dragon is once again following the only path possible to make China safe again. Exterminate Falun Gong today. Or the communists once again on the wrong path. You decide. But before you decide, factor in the change the United States has made in the past decade between bowing to the Red Dragon and standing strong in the face of tyranny. What a change one election makes. Thank you again for tuning in to the DC Hammer Show. Until next time, stand tall, bow to no one, and let's continue to make America great again. God bless.